A young woman sits in a quiet therapy room. Nothing is threatening. The light is soft, the air calm, the clock ticks with steady rhythm. Yet her hands tremble, her chest feels heavy, and her breath comes in short bursts. Then she whispers a sentence that carries the weight of many lives. I know I am safe, but my body does not believe it. Many of us move through adulthood inside bodies that never truly left childhood. Some were raised in homes filled with shouting, where love came wrapped in fear. Some were left alone in silence, learning to shrink in order to be noticed. Others grew up in houses so still that affection had to be guessed rather than felt. Modern culture teaches us to forget, keep busy, work harder, take the pill. But as Bessel van der Kolk reminds us, medication may ease the symptoms, yet it cannot teach the body to feel safe. Because trauma does not live only in memory, it lodges in reflex. It beats in the fast heart, tightens the shoulders, and interrupts the night's rest. So how do we teach the body to trust again? The fawn response offers a clue, the instinct to please, to apologize, to stay small enough to avoid danger. It is the body's attempt to earn safety when safety should have been given. Many people carry small childhood tokens, a pin, a bracelet, a smooth stone, tiny objects that once gave a sense of control. They are not childish but sacred, symbols of the effort to hold order in chaos. The trembling heartbeat of one woman becomes the echo of an entire generation still learning how to stop living in alarm and begin believing in safety again. The woman's trembling heartbeat is not a flaw, but a message from the body itself. Childhood is the stage when the brain and nervous system are not yet able to protect on their own. During those early years, the body becomes both the battlefield and the witness. The amygdala acts like an alarm bell, scanning constantly for danger, while the vagus nerve links the internal organs to the instinct for survival. According to the polyvagal theory, the nervous system moves through three physiological states: social engagement, fight or flight, and freeze. When someone grows up in an unsafe environment, the body learns to slide quickly from connection to alarm. The fawn response is the social version of freezing, a state where the body pleases rather than resists in order to stay safe. When survival becomes constant, interoception, the ability to sense what is happening inside, begins to fade. The result is alexithymia, the inability to name feelings, the automatic, I am fine even as the body tightens. This is not weakness, it is biological intelligence. The body once protected us through vigilance, and it continues that habit even when danger is gone. Healing does not mean controlling the body, but befriending it. It means we're learning how to sense internal states, to name them, and to hold them with care. Only then can the parasympathetic system awaken, allowing calm to return and trust to slowly take root again. The process of befriending the body reveals how survival patterns show up in daily life. On the surface, a person may appear strong, helpful, and endlessly pleasant. Yet beneath that calm lies a deep fear of abandonment, rejection, and punishment. This is the fawn response made permanent, a reflex to apologize, to avoid conflict, to anticipate others' needs before one's own. Over time, this constant adaptation leaves marks across three dimensions. Mentally, it appears as anxiety, depression, and the haunting belief that something is wrong with me. Relationally, it shows as clinging, fear of intimacy, silent resentment, and hidden contracts of unspoken expectations. Physically, it takes shape as insomnia, muscle pain, and chronic tension that never fully releases. Internal family systems theory helps to map this inner world. The protector part warns against opening painful memories. The exile part carries shame, fear, and loneliness. The manager part maintains the mask of strength, perfection, and control. These parts are not fixed. They shift and interact, taking turns to lead whenever the body senses danger. Healing begins not by suppressing them, but by creating dialogue among them, allowing safety to grow from understanding. A trusting therapeutic relationship acts as a natural sedative for the nervous system. A steady gaze, a warm tone, a slow rhythm all signal safety to the body. Relapse moments are not failure, but testing grounds. When fear resurfaces, when nightmares return, when the wish to give up appears, the body is checking whether the new safety can hold. Recovery does not mean fear disappears. It means learning to stay with fear without running away, to remain present inside the storm until calm becomes familiar again. To stay present with fear is to rediscover the strength once buried beneath survival. It marks the turning point between merely coping and truly healing. From here begins the journey of restoration, where understanding becomes action. What follows are 6 pathways that guide the body and mind out of the past and gently toward wholeness again. The first path begins where survival ends: therapy and self-compassion. After learning to stay with fear, we now learn to stop the war within. Healing starts when we can name the truth without judgment and say, "That was truly painful." This simple acknowledgement tells the body that the fight is over. Self-compassion activates the parasympathetic system, softening the body's defenses and calming the overactive amygdala through top-down regulation. Within a stable therapeutic alliance, safety is rebuilt through small sensory cues such as steady presence, gentle eyes, and a warm voice. These are not small details, but biological invitations for trust. Through this process, our sense of value shifts. We move from self-blame to self-understanding, from shame to dignity. Healing begins when we can finally say, "I did the best I could," and truly believe it. The second path follows naturally from therapy and self-compassion. EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. It begins by recalling a distressing memory while the body receives bilateral stimulation, often through guided eye movements. This rhythmic process allows both hemispheres of the brain to engage, creating space for safety to coexist with fear. Scientifically, EMDR works through memory reconsolidation, where old memories are softened as new, safe experiences are introduced. Predictive processing adjusts the brain's forecasts, helping it recognize that danger no longer exists. The goal is not to erase the past, but to release its control over the present. The memory remains, yet it loses its power. In clinical practice, EMDR significantly reduces PTSD symptoms when guided by a trained professional. The healing moment comes when the patient exhales, shoulders drop, and the body finally learns the truth it once could not believe: "I am safe now." The third path flows naturally from EMDR's work with memory into the body's language of movement and breath: yoga. Its purpose is to help the body remember that it is not a battlefield, but a home. through slow breathing and mindful attention to internal sensations. The body learns safety not as an idea, but as a lived experience. The core practice is simple. Breathe slower. Shift the breath from the chest to the belly. And stay curious about the sensations that rise and fall. This activates the parasympathetic system, guiding the body out of hypervigilance and into connection. One grounding technique, called orienting, invites you to name 3 pleasant objects around you, anchoring awareness in the present moment. The result is quiet but profound, lower cortisol, increased presence, and the gentle return of control that feels like calm rather than effort. The next path extends the work of yoga by turning awareness into expression through drama and body movement. Here, the goal is to loosen the identity of the victim and safely experiment with new roles such as the leader, the protector, or the warrior. Each movement becomes a rehearsal for freedom. Somatic release allows stored survival energy to be discharged, signaling to the brain that action is now safe. In group settings, co-regulation happens naturally through shared rhythm, clapping, and mutual gaze, teaching the nervous system that connection can be secure. Boundaries are practiced in real time by learning to pause, to say enough, without guilt. Through movement, the story of trauma is retold without words, and for the first time, the body is allowed to choose a different ending. Building on the body's rediscovered freedom of movement, the 5th path turns attention to the brain itself through neurofeedback. In this practice, small electrodes measure brain waves while the participant receives gentle feedback each time the brain moves into a balanced and focused state. Over time, the brain begins to learn that calm is possible and can be trained. This process strengthens the prefrontal cortex, improving top-down regulation while staying attuned to the body's bottom-up signals. It is a dialogue between thought and sensation, teaching both to trust each other again. Progress is tracked not only through data, but through lived changes: steadier sleep, sharper focus, fewer startle reactions, and a physiology that feels settled rather than vigilant. In this quiet training, peace becomes a skill, not a mystery. Following the gradual retraining of the brain through neurofeedback, the 6th path explores the emerging field of MDMA-assisted therapy. This approach is conducted only under strict medical supervision, with 2 trained therapists present and a carefully screened, regulated environment. It remains within clinical trials, permitted only in approved research or medical settings. The mechanism is both neurological and emotional. MDMA lowers activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, allowing access to painful memories without being overwhelmed. It simultaneously increases empathy and connection, creating space for compassion toward the self. The goal is to meet the inner child with kindness rather than judgment, to soften the walls built from fear. At this stage, healing reaches its summit. The body finally learns that safety can surround memory, and the past can rest inside compassion instead of terror. After the deep work of rebuilding safety, healing begins to appear in small and ordinary moments. A familiar situation unfolds. Life feels calm again, yet one tiny trigger brings the old fear rushing back. The body tightens. The heart speeds up. The past feels close. But this time, something changes. The person does not run. They place a hand over the chest, breathe in for 4 counts, breathe out for 6, and gently remind the body, "You are safe now." The body still shakes, but it no longer feels strange. This is the beginning of self-regulation, the nervous system learning its own rhythm of peace. Then comes a simple ritual, placing the small childhood token on the table, not as rejection, but as release. Reactivation is no longer a setback, but proof that the new pattern of safety is being strengthened. Society too must learn this lesson, to meet relapse not with fear, but with collective patience and care. Integration is the final expression of healing, the moment when memory, emotion, and bodily reflex no longer fight each other, but move in harmony. After learning to self-regulate, this is where the pieces begin to fit together. The body no longer argues with the mind, and the past no longer interrupts the present. In daily life, integration shows itself quietly, saying no when overwhelmed, eating slowly, going to bed early, walking with awareness, being truly present in conversation. Each simple act becomes a rehearsal for peace. Healing also expands beyond the individual. Communities can practice co-regulation through safe groups, movement classes, and spaces of shared trust. A safe environment cannot exist only in the therapy room. It must grow in schools, workplaces, and cultures where kindness is not confused with submission. Every breath becomes a neurological lesson, teaching the body to trust safety again. And most of all, peace is no longer a destination, but a daily skill, something practiced again and again until calm becomes part of life's rhythm. Integration leads to a deeper truth. Healing is not about never trembling again, but about understanding why the body trembles and meeting it with kindness. There will be moments when we still shake without a clear reason. That is not failure. It is evidence of how brave we once had to be just to survive. Trauma is not a defect of character, but a biological inheritance that can be understood, retrained, and woven back into wholeness. The body once learned fear to stay alive, and now it can learn trust to truly live. This is the central promise of recovery. Courage takes a new form here. It is no longer the ability to fight, but the willingness to rest, to breathe, to allow peace without suspicion. The invitation is simple yet profound. Treat the body gently. Follow the 6 healing pathways with professional safety and mindful care, and participate in the shared work of restoring trust. Through this collective practice, both individuals and communities can begin to speak a common language of recovery, one heartbeat at a time.